The city lights shined bright that night, but inside the luxurious mansion, laughter was louder than the music. A group of young millionaires sat together around a long glass table. Among them was Adrian Knight, a man known for his sharp mind, his money, and his cold heart. He had everything: cars, companies, fame. But one thing he never believed in was love. Adrian leaned back in his chair, holding a glass of wine. His friends were teasing him as always. "Adrian, you can buy anything in this world," one friend said, "but I bet you cannot buy a woman's heart." Adrian smirked, his pride flashing in his eyes. "Love is nothing but a game," he replied. "Any woman can fall for me, if I want." The group laughed, but one of them leaned closer and whispered something dangerous. "Then prove it. I dare you to marry a simple girl, someone who knows nothing about your wealth. No models, no rich girls. Just an ordinary one." The room went silent for a moment. Everyone's eyes turned to Adrian. He loved challenges, and this one was no different. His lips curled into a confident smile. "Fine," he said, "I accept your bet. I will marry an ordinary girl within 7 days." The group cheered, clapping and laughing. But no one knew this single decision would change Adrian's entire life. The next day, Adrian's driver stopped near a small cafe in the poorer part of the city. Adrian sat inside his luxury car, looking at the people walking by. His eyes suddenly stopped on a young woman serving tea in the cafe. She wore simple clothes, her hair tied back, her hands moving quickly as she balanced a tray. Her name was Elena. She was not rich, not glamorous, but something about her presence caught Adrian's attention. She was smiling at customers, even though her eyes looked tired. There was a softness in her face, a quiet strength in the way she carried herself. Adrian stepped out of the car and entered the cafe. Everyone turned their heads. His expensive suit and commanding aura did not belong in that small place. Elena walked toward him politely. "Good evening, sir. What would you like to have?" Adrian studied her face. She wasn't dazzled by his presence like others usually were. Instead, she looked at him with the same respect she gave to every customer. "Tea," he said simply. When she placed the cup on his table, their eyes met for a brief second. For the first time in years, Adrian felt something unusual. It wasn't attraction. It wasn't desire. It was curiosity. Later that night, Adrian returned to his mansion. His friends were waiting for an update. "Well," one of them asked, "did you find someone?" Adrian thought of Elena's calm smile and her quiet strength. "Yes," he replied. "I found her." His friends laughed in disbelief. "That cafe girl? Are you serious?" Adrian's smirk returned. "You'll see. By the end of this week, she'll be my wife." Days passed quickly. Adrian visited the cafe again and again. At first, Elena thought he was just another rich man playing around. She tried to keep her distance, but Adrian's persistence was strong. He offered help when her little brother fell sick. He stood by her when some rude customers insulted her. Slowly, Elena began to see another side of him. He was cold on the outside, but sometimes his eyes showed something different, something almost human. Against her own caution, she started trusting him. One evening, Adrian came to the cafe with a serious expression. "Elena," he said softly, "I want to marry you." Elena froze, staring at him. "Marry me? But, you don't even know me properly. I'm not rich, I'm not special." Adrian stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You are special. More than you think." Her heart raced. She had never imagined someone like him would choose someone like her. She hesitated, but his sincerity broke her walls. Against her doubts, she agreed. The wedding was small but elegant. Adrian's friends watched from a distance, some laughing quietly at the bet they thought he would soon win. Elena, in her simple white dress, looked nervous but beautiful. As she walked toward Adrian, her heart was filled with hope. Maybe this was destiny. Maybe her life was finally changing for the better. But deep inside Adrian, things were not as simple. He still saw the marriage as part of his bet. Yet, when Elena smiled at him during the vows, something inside him shifted. Just for a second, he felt guilt. That night, as Elena entered her new home, she looked around in awe. The mansion was bigger than anything she had ever seen. She touched the walls, the furniture, the chandeliers, everything seemed like a dream. But dreams don't last forever. Later, as Adrian spoke with his friends in his study, Elena walked past the door. She paused, hearing her name. Curious, she leaned closer. She really agreed. One of the friends chuckled. You're going to win this bet easily, Adrian. Elena's heart stopped. Her breath grew heavy. She covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to cry. A bet. Was her marriage just a cruel game? Her world began to crumble as tears filled her eyes. Cliffhanger ending of Part 1. Elena stepped back from the door, her entire body trembling. She couldn't believe the man she married might have only chosen her for a bet. She whispered to herself in pain, "Is this all I am to him?" And just like that, the beautiful beginning turned into a storm of doubt. The night felt colder than usual inside the grand mansion. Elena sat alone in her new room, staring at the walls that seemed too big, too empty. She should have been happy. She was married to a man every woman dreamed of, rich, handsome, powerful. But her heart was heavy, her eyes filled with tears. Those words she had overheard kept echoing in her mind. You're going to win this bet easily, Adrian. Her chest tightened. She remembered the vows, his smile, the way he held her hand. Was all of it fake? Was she only a prize in some cruel game? She pressed her hands against her chest, whispering, "Why me? Why would he marry me if it was only for a bet?" The next morning, Elena tried to act normal. She wore a polite smile as she joined Adrian for breakfast. The long table was filled with food, but she had no appetite. Adrian noticed her silence. "Is everything all right?" he asked. She forced a nod. "Yes, everything is fine." But her voice cracked. Adrian looked at her closely, sensing something was wrong. He wanted to ask more, but for some reason, he didn't. His pride always stopped him from opening his heart. Days went by. Elena tried to adjust to her new life, but her broken heart refused to heal. She smiled when the maids were around, but at night she cried quietly into her pillow. Adrian, though distant, started noticing the change. He saw how she avoided his eyes, how her laughter was gone, how she kept herself busy in the garden instead of spending time with him. For the first time, Adrian felt uneasy. He had won many bets in his life, but this one didn't feel like a victory anymore. One evening, Adrian found Elena in the garden, sitting on a bench under the stars. She looked lost in thought, her face pale, her eyes distant. He walked over and sat beside her. "You seem unhappy," he said carefully. Elena forced a small smile. "I'm fine." But her voice trembled, betraying her. Adrian frowned. Something inside him stirred, an emotion he rarely felt. Guilt. He wanted to tell her the truth, but his pride silenced him again. Instead, he said softly, "You don't have to hide your feelings from me." Her eyes filled with tears, but she quickly turned her face away. "Feelings," she whispered. "Do feelings even matter in this marriage?" Adrian froze. Her words cut deeper than he expected. Later that night, Elena sat by the window of her room, watching the moon. She thought about her little brother, her mother, the small cafe she once worked in. She wondered if she had made a mistake by stepping into a world that wasn't hers. She whispered to herself, "Maybe I was never meant to be here." Her heart longed for the simple life she had before. Even though it was hard, at least it was real. Now she felt trapped in a golden cage, married to a man whose love might only be a lie. Meanwhile, Adrian sat in his study, unable to concentrate. He looked at the papers on his desk, but his mind wandered to Elena. He remembered the way her eyes lit up when she laughed, the way she cared for her sick brother, the way she had agreed to marry him despite her fears. For the first time, Adrian felt something strange, a fear of losing her. He told himself it was nothing, but deep down, he knew it was more than that. The following day, Adrian's friends came to visit. They teased him as always. "So, Adrian, how's married life? Winning your bet yet?" one of them asked with a grin. Adrian stayed silent, his jaw tightening. He didn't like their laughter anymore. He didn't like the sound of Elena's name mixed with the word bet. For the first time, the bet didn't feel like fun. It felt like a mistake. "Elena, walking past the room, heard their voices again. Her chest ached. She couldn't take it anymore. That night, when Adrian entered the bedroom, he found Elena packing a small bag. "What are you doing?" he asked in shock. She turned toward him, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I can't stay here, Adrian. I can't live in a marriage that was never real." Adrian's heart pounded. "Elena." "Don't," she interrupted, her voice breaking. "Don't say anything. I heard everything. I know this marriage was just a bet." Her words shattered the walls Adrian had built around his heart. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. He wanted to explain, to stop her, but she looked at him with so much pain that his throat closed. Elena lifted her bag and walked toward the door. Every step she took felt like a knife in Adrian's chest. Cliffhanger ending of Part 2. Adrian stood frozen as the door closed behind her. His pride had won many battles, but now it was costing him the one thing he never expected, her. For the first time, the mighty millionaire whispered to himself, "I think I'm losing her." The sound of the door closing still echoed in Adrian's ears. He stood frozen in the middle of the room, his chest rising and falling heavily. The woman he had married, the woman he thought he could control like a game, had just walked out. For the first time, Adrian felt something he had never felt before. Fear. He rushed outside, but Elena was already gone. The driver had dropped her at her mother's small house near the old cafe. Adrian stood at the gate of his mansion, staring at the empty driveway. His hands curled into fists. How could he, the man who had everything, suddenly feel so helpless? Elena entered her mother's home quietly. Her mother, surprised, asked, "Child, why are you here? Where is your husband?" Elena forced a smile, but her eyes betrayed her pain. I needed to come home for a while." Her mother noticed her trembling hands and swollen eyes but didn't push her with questions. She gently touched Elena's head and said, "You can stay here as long as you want." That night, Elena lay awake in her old bed. She thought of Adrian, his coldness, his rare moments of care, and those terrible words she had overheard. Every time she remembered them, her heart broke again. Was I really just a bet? She turned to the wall, hugging her pillow tightly. Her tears didn't stop until sleep finally claimed her. Meanwhile, Adrian sat alone in his mansion study. His friends had left, but their laughter still rang in his ears. He slammed his fist on the desk. For years, he had played games with life. He had won every deal, every bet. But this time, winning felt like losing. He whispered to himself, "Why does it hurt so much that she left?" Memories of Elena flashed before him, the way she smiled while serving tea at the cafe, the softness in her eyes when she spoke about her brother, the trust in her voice when she had said, "I do." Adrian poured himself a drink but pushed it away untouched. For the first time in years, alcohol couldn't numb the storm inside him. The next morning, Adrian drove himself to Elena's neighborhood. He parked his luxury car near the cafe and watched from a distance. Elena was there, helping her mother with groceries, her hair tied back like before. She looked tired but peaceful, more at home here than she ever had in the mansion. He wanted to step out, to walk up to her, to explain everything. But his pride chained his feet. He sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel. What could he say? That their marriage had started as a cruel bet, but now he couldn't imagine life without her? The words felt heavy, almost impossible. Days passed. Elena tried to return to her normal life, but her heart was restless. She caught herself thinking about Adrian when she didn't want to. She remembered how he had helped her brother when no one else did. She remembered the way he looked at her sometimes, like she was more than just a stranger. But every time she felt a spark of hope, the memory of his friends' laughter crushed it. One evening, as Elena sat in the cafe after closing, she whispered to herself, "Why does my heart still care for him, after everything?" Her mother overheard her and sat down beside her. "Because love is not simple, child. It does not ask permission. But remember, love without respect is nothing." Elena nodded silently, her heart torn between love and betrayal. That same night, Adrian finally gathered the courage to go to her. He stood outside her mother's house, his hands trembling slightly. When Elena opened the door, her eyes widened in shock. "Adrian," she whispered. "Elena," Please, he said, his voice low and rough. I need to talk to you. She stepped aside reluctantly, allowing him in. They sat across from each other in silence. Adrian's eyes searched hers, but she looked away. Finally, she broke the silence. Why, Adrian? Why did you do this to me? His chest tightened. He had faced ruthless businessmen, powerful rivals, but never had he felt so weak. It started as a bet, he admitted, his voice barely audible. Elena flinched as if the words were knives. Tears welled up in her eyes. So it's true. I was just a game to you. No, Adrian said quickly, shaking his head. Not anymore. Elena, I didn't expect this, but somewhere along the way. He stopped, unable to finish. You what? She snapped, her voice breaking. You used me. You broke me. Do you think saying a few words will erase the pain? Her tears fell freely now, and Adrian's heart shattered at the sight. He reached out, but she pulled her hand away. I can't do this, Elena whispered. I can't stay in a marriage built on lies. Adrian felt the ground slipping beneath him. For the first time, the powerful millionaire felt truly powerless. He wanted to beg, but his pride still fought inside him. As Elena stood up to leave the room, Adrian whispered the words he had never said to anyone. Elena, I love you. She froze. Her back stiffened, her hands trembling. Slowly, she turned to face him. Her eyes were filled with disbelief, anger, and pain all at once. You love me, she repeated bitterly. Or is this just another part of your game? Adrian's eyes glistened with something real, something raw. It's not a game anymore. Not for me. Cliffhanger ending of Part 3. Elena stared at him, torn between the love she still felt and the betrayal that had broken her. Her heart screamed to believe him, but her mind whispered not to fall again. Without saying another word, she walked past him, leaving Adrian standing in silence. He knew this was his last chance. If he failed to prove his love now, he would lose her forever. The night after Elena walked away from him felt endless for Adrian. He sat in his car outside her house for hours, staring at the light in her window. Every minute that passed reminded him that she was slipping further away. For the first time in his life, money, power, and pride meant nothing. All that mattered was her. The next morning, Adrian made a decision. He would not let her go. When he knocked on Elena's door, her mother answered. Her sharp eyes widened when she saw him standing there. You, she said coldly. You are the reason my daughter cries every night. Adrian bowed his head slightly. I know. And I came to fix it. Her mother's voice grew firm. You can't fix a broken heart with money. Leave before you hurt her again. Adrian's chest tightened, but he stood tall. Please, just give me one chance to talk to her. Elena appeared behind her mother, her face pale but strong. It's fine, Mama. I'll handle this. She stepped outside, crossing her arms. What do you want now, Adrian? Haven't you done enough? Adrian took a deep breath. I want to make things right. I know I started this marriage as a bet. I was wrong. But Helena, I swear to you, somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you. I don't care about the bet anymore. I care about you. Elena's eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head. Love? Do you even know what love is? Love isn't games. It isn't lies. You hurt me in a way I can't forget. Her voice cracked, but her gaze stayed strong. Adrian stepped closer. Then let me prove it. Let me show you that I'm not the same man I was before. Days passed, and Adrian tried everything. He showed up at the cafe, helping her carry trays, cleaning tables, even though customers stared at the millionaire working like an ordinary man. He visited her sick brother, bringing medicine and sitting by his side without saying a word. He even apologized to her mother, admitting his mistakes. People whispered in the town. Why is the rich Adrian Knight working here? Why is he chasing that simple girl? But Adrian didn't care. Pride had built his empire, but now he was ready to destroy it for Elena. Elena, however, remained cautious. She watched him quietly, her heart battling her mind. She saw his efforts, his care, his humility. But the wound in her chest was deep. Every time she thought of forgiving him, she remembered the cruel laughter of his friends. One evening, it began to rain heavily. Elena was leaving the cafe when she saw Adrian waiting outside with an umbrella. "Go home, Adrian," she said tiredly. He shook his head. "Not until you believe me." Frustrated, she snapped, "Why are you doing this? You already won the bet. Isn't that enough?" Adrian's eyes darkened. "I don't care about the bet. I care about you. Can't you see it? Elena, I've changed because of you. For the first time, I know what it means to love someone." Her lips trembled, her eyes softening for a moment. But then she turned away, whispering, "I'm afraid, Adrian. I'm afraid if I trust you again, you'll break me all over." Those words pierced his heart. He wanted to answer, but before he could, the sound of screeching tires filled the air. A car came speeding down the wet road, out of control. In that split second, Adrian saw it rushing toward Elena. Without thinking, he threw himself forward, pushing her out of the way. The car hit him instead. The world seemed to stop. Elena screamed as Adrian's body fell to the ground. Blood stained the rain-soaked street. People rushed out of the cafe, shouting for help. Elena knelt beside him, her hands shaking as she touched his face. "Adrian. No, please. Stay with me." His eyes fluttered open weakly. Despite the pain, a faint smile touched his lips. "See, Elena. I told you. I'd prove it." Tears blurred her vision. "Don't say that. You can't leave me like this." The ambulance sirens grew louder in the distance, but Elena's world had already narrowed down to the man bleeding in her arms. As the paramedics lifted Adrian onto the stretcher, Elena held his hand tightly, her heart breaking with every passing second. For the first time, she realized the truth she had been denying: she still loved him. But now, she feared it was too late. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and fear. Elena paced back and forth, her hands trembling, her face pale. Every second felt like a lifetime. Adrian had been rushed into the emergency room, his blood staining her clothes and hands. Her mother sat quietly nearby, praying softly. But Elena couldn't sit. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think of anything except his faint voice echoing in her head. "See, Elena. I told you. I'd prove it." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered to herself, "Don't leave me, Adrian. Not like this. Not before I tell you," her voice broke, "that I still love you." Hours passed before the doctor finally stepped out. Elena rushed forward. "How is he? Please tell me he's alive." The doctor gave a small nod. "He's stable for now. But he lost a lot of blood. He needs rest and care." Relief washed over her, and her knees almost gave way. She pressed her hands to her mouth, sobbing quietly. Her mother held her shoulders, whispering, "See, child? God is giving you another chance. Don't waste it." Elena nodded, wiping her tears. She entered the room slowly, her heart pounding. Adrian lay on the hospital bed, pale and weak. His eyes were closed, but his chest rose and fell gently. Elena sat beside him, holding his cold hand in both of hers. For a long time, she simply watched him, remembering every moment, the lies, the pain, but also the kindness he had shown, the way he had changed for her. She realized now that no man would risk his life like that unless his love was real. Leaning closer, she whispered, "Adrian, I was angry, I was broken. But the truth is, I never stopped loving you. Please wake up and hear me say it." A tear slid down her cheek, falling onto his hand. As if her voice reached him, Adrian's eyes slowly opened. Weak but alive, he looked at her. His lips curved into the faintest smile. "Elena," he whispered. Her heart leapt. She pressed his hand to her cheek. "I'm here. I'm not leaving you." His voice was raspy, but filled with honesty. "I don't deserve you. I hurt you, lied to you. But Helena, I swear, every word I speak now is true. I love you. I love you more than my life." Her tears flowed freely, but this time they carried relief. "And I love you too. I tried to deny it, but I can't. You changed, Adrian. You proved it to me in the most painful way. I forgive you. Weeks passed. Adrian slowly recovered, and Elena never left his side. She fed him, read to him, laughed with him. The cold walls between them broke down completely. For the first time, their marriage felt real, built not on pride, not on games, but on trust and love. One evening, when Adrian was strong enough to walk again, he took Elena to the garden outside the hospital. The sunset painted the sky in gold and red. He held her hands, his eyes glistening with sincerity. Elena, he said softly, I don't want our story to be remembered as a bet. I want it to be remembered as the day I found the only woman I will ever love. Will you give me that chance? Her smile was soft, filled with both tears and hope. You already have it, Adrian. From now on, we start fresh. No lies. No games. Only love. He pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he would never let go again. And for the first time, both of them felt free. Back at the mansion, things were different. Adrian no longer cared about his friends' laughter. When they teased him again, he looked them in the eye and said, I lost the bet. But I won something much greater, her. And Elena, standing by his side, smiled proudly. She was no longer the girl who doubted her worth. She was the woman who had healed a broken man, and in return, found the love she had always deserved. Final ending. Their marriage, once built on a cruel challenge, had turned into something real, something beautiful. Adrian and Elena walked hand in hand into a future where trust and love guided them. Because sometimes, even the darkest beginning can lead to the most beautiful ending.